for
Hi,
video.
this is. Okay. Should I go now or? Okay. Hi, this is your host, Laura Powers, and I'm so pleased today to have Mario Ficina on the show. And we are here to talk about business book publishing. Thanks so much for being a guest on the show.
It's my pleasure, Laura. I can't wait to share with your audience.
Yes, I'm so excited. This is a really wonderful topic, and I also think this is a great, like, basically reason for us to connect and have a conversation. So we met at some podcasting events, and we were at one of the last big events before everything shut down. And I'm so grateful for that event because it's like, wow, now I kind of daydream about these live conferences. But thank goodness. So, love if you could just share a little bit about your work and your background and how you got into business book publishing specifically.
Well, it's interesting because I actually failed English 7 times. And
Oh my gosh.
yeah, most people, when they're like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I should do a book, here's the thing. I have always had a heart for people. I love serving people. I love going, what's your problem? Here's a solution. So whether it was middle school, high school, college, or beyond, and right now I'm in the beyond phase, um, just for anyone that's listening to be clear, I've always just wanted to help people. So if you were to ask me, I had like zero desire, but I saw it as a way when some of my friends were publishing books. I saw it as a way, as a marketing tool specifically for business to go, I can help more people, I can reach more people, and there might be people I can help I might never have the opportunity to even get in front of, or maybe they're not a good fit or the timing's not right. Because there's a big difference from I need help, I want the help, but then to go through the process, to invest in it, to go invest, be committed to the time. Everyone's at a different spot, but that doesn't mean they don't need help. So I love it because I was already doing public speaking, and I just saw it as a complementary thing that I could add on. And you speak to 1,000 people in a room, there's no way, and I'd like to think I'm pretty good, but there's no way I could talk to 1,000 people within a 30 to 45 minute window afterwards, even if we were in the hallway. I'd be putting on another seminar. But I can say,
Right.
I have books in the back of the room and sell 1,000 of them, and now everyone's getting help. And what's really cool about it is if you think of the sales cycle, the 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 hours, on 3 to 5 on average, you meet them, you follow up, you do the coffee thing perhaps, you do all this stuff. There's a little bit of onboarding. The book will do that for you. So now when someone reads your book and they go, "Wow, you pretty much decided I love this person or not, they can help me or not." So when they call you, I've had people text me, email, call me, whatever, and send me a screenshot of their bank statement with a caption that says, "I'm ready to go." Now, I don't know
Mm-hmm.
about you, but the first few hundred people I helped, that wasn't the case. It was a little bit more uphill battle, kind of like the new way
Totally.
now. So despite my own head trash, let's call it, I was like, I have no business writing a book. I was actually shaking the night I was publishing it, and I have it in my very first book. I literally sat down to finish the table of contents and look it over. 5 hours later, all this stuff came out, and I started thanking all these people. I added 30 pages to the book that night. But I was like a nervous wreck because my whole life it was, you're not good at this, you're not good at that, you're not. I literally failed English 7 times.
Mm.
So when people are like, I'm not such a good writer, I'm like, oh, I can top you. You're far superior than I am, and it doesn't even matter. So it's why I think it's why it's so personal for me, because I see what it does for people, especially entrepreneurs, and it's such a great thing. You can serve an unlimited amount of people. Once it's done, just print the thing off.
Yeah, I think this is a really good point that anyone can be a writer, especially if they get help, with editing. Sometimes an editor is key, a good editor is key, but it is really important. And yeah, I didn't fail English that many times, but I did fail English. I actually failed first grade. I was still learning English, so in my defense, I was still learning how to speak English, but I think wherever you are, whatever struggles you've had, you still have something to offer. And it's such an important thing. Having a book is such a great platform builder, and it really helps put you out there as an expert in whatever it is. And also, everyone is an expert on something. I firmly believe that. Whether or not it's an educational thing, maybe you have gone through sobriety and you can talk about your journey with sobriety, or, your health journey, or whatever, how to coordinate your closet. I have no idea. Like, everyone has something that they're good at. And when you put out a book, it can really help people understand what it is that you offer and why you're qualified to help them on a deeper level. I started writing books because, kind of like what you're talking about, I just knew there's no way I can access and help all the people individually that I want to help.
Yeah, it's a great tool. I mean, if you really have a heart to help people, it's a great way to do it. And I'll tell you what, a byproduct of it for someone going, I do want to help people, but I still don't, I didn't fail English 7 times, but it's still not my strength. It doesn't need to be. If you have the knowledge and expertise, I tell all of our author clients the same thing. They're like, what do you need from me? Okay, they invest, they're ready to go, everything's good. They go, what do you need from me? What are the next steps? I go, I just need your expertise. The rest, my team and I can take care of. But it's just that expertise. Once you have and the cool thing for business books is that's what you can do in your sleep. Regardless of what the area of expertise is, like you're saying, you can do that stuff in your sleep. You'll have 15 things going on, or better yet, you're speaking somewhere and all these people are asking you questions, and without even hesitating, you're just like, oh, you don't even know where it's coming from, right? Once you get that out, it's out. And those are the things that people are looking for. It doesn't need to be I always hesitate to say this. I'll just say it. It doesn't have to be elegantly polished to the point where it's overdone. It needs to be edited. It needs to be good. It needs to make sense and be coherent. But some people just have this picture of, like even the microphone. It's like they're sitting here polishing the thing, and it's like you're going to be driving through a rain puddle in 10 seconds. Like, this makes no sense. It's like, you need to have the core structure there, but you don't need to spend 9 years refining it and this and that. It's like you just want to get the information out, and it's just another medium to do it. A lot of our clients already have LinkedIn posts. They already have videos. They already have speeches they've done. I'm like, where are your PowerPoints? It's one of the things we walk them through is going, let's go on a treasure hunt. Let's see how much stuff you can find that's already out there. Have you ever been on a podcast? Oh, yeah, I've done dozens or hundreds of them. Well, there's probably 3 chapters of the book. Where's the LinkedIn post? Oh, yeah, hundreds of them. Facebook, social media, internal stuff. Well, what's the stuff that you don't post publicly? That's probably your best stuff. Could be, might not be. PowerPoint presentations. By the time we go through that, there's a lot you really don't have to do, but there's always that refinement of like, okay, what's the order? Did anything change? Is there anything you want to polish off right now? But here's the thing. It doesn't have to take forever. Most people think it takes a year or 2. It does not. You can do it in a few months.
Yeah, I think that's really important to note. And I'm a big fan of repurposing content and using things more than once. And you don't have to like reinvent the wheel. So it's same thing for podcasts. Like, you can do solo podcasts that are from a blog post that you wrote, or an article you wrote, or a speech that you gave at a conference. And so it's all about using things more than one time and then leveraging those. And I agree, it doesn't have to be a big thing. The first time I released a book, I had booked a talk at a library, like a local library, and I was like, I feel like I should have something to put it out. So I wrote my book in 6 weeks and it wasn't very professionally packaged, but then I had it, and then I figured out how to do the publishing more professionally. But I think people really get in their own way with the perfectionism piece. And by the way, there's like New York Times bestselling books that still have typos and things like that. Like, and you know what? They're doing all right. So don't let that stop you from putting out your content. And I love, you can, get that on your next book. Like, I have 8 books now, and I swear each one has gotten progressively better. But would I have that most recent one at that level if I hadn't started somewhere? No, like just go for it. And I think you develop the confidence. Do you work with people that do one book, do multiple books? And what has your experience been with people that do multiple books?
The first one's always the most important because, like you said, you just want to get the information out there. Now, the goal is never to have to redo a book 3 or 4 times, But things can change. I update some of mine once a year because things change, like especially with video marketing. Live
Oh,
streaming wasn't
tech
a
stuff for
thing
sure.
when I first published it nearly a decade ago. Now, live streaming is like all the rage. Well, I added more into that. The core structure of it, though, again, to the point of the expertise, it's the same lighting, it's the same microphones, it's, similar cameras. You could argue, oh, they're newer cameras. Well, big deal. You need a camera, you need a light, well, you should use multiple lights, but you need lighting, you need cameras, you need microphones. The core of movies and video has always been the same. How we do it has changed. Same thing with the books. It's like, get the first one out there, do a great job at it, but don't obsess over it for a year and a half about the one sentence that only is specific to you that no one else is even going to pick up on. It's not that you should leave the editing bad or anything like that, but what happens is people get so tied to it. Same thing like with podcasting. It's like there's things about my show that I'm like very proud of. And how many people have been like, oh my gosh, I listened to episode XYZ, and I could just really tell that the last 13 years of what you went through really shine through in that one thing that you said. That, you know what I mean? It's like most people aren't going to be picking up on something specific to you unless you share it. But that one little thing you're hanging on to, that's what's going to slow you down for 6 or 12 months, because it's like it's literally just an obsession. The core, the other 99.5%, that's what's going to help people. The best compliment I ever had wasn't, this is the best written, or it's the best edited, or it's the best whatever. And all of those were good. And I'm very proud I've gotten better over the years, and I have a great team of editors that helps me, and I have them touch my books and edit them too, because that's not me. But the best compliment I had was, I read your book, I got through it in a few hours, and I put it into action the same day. That's what you want.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I find that frequently people connect with me and get a book, and then they might do, purchase a course, do some one-on-one coaching. So it's a really great just jumping in point for people to learn more about you, feel comfortable, and then figure out if they want to work with you on a deeper level. So if you're doing any kind of service providing business, I feel like it's just a no-brainer. You should have a book, because it's also something that you can use to help leverage to media coverage. If you have something
Absolutely.
new that you can promote or shows, it's so powerful. So with people that are interested in writing a book, what is their process, a business book specifically, what is their process in terms of working with you? How do you go through them from kind of beginning to end?
They have to apply. I have to make sure they're qualified. They have to have the right heart. I have never and will never amplify someone's message that's doing something malicious that I know about, because the book is powerful no matter what. That's why I'm so confident about it. However, the person might be a complete not nice person, or they might be, a true blessing to people. So for me, this is like a company rule I created for my company. I'm never going to amplify someone that's doing something wrong. So they have to apply, they have to qualify, and then we just go through the process. Where are you at? And the biggest thing is, what information do you already have out there that we can use? Everyone has something out there. And at the very least, because sometimes people go, well, I wrote that 4 years ago. Okay, it changed. And sometimes it's easier just to be like, okay, tell me about the new thing. Like right now, we're just having a conversation. If I was to be like, what's all the new stuff for this year? You could probably say all the new stuff, maybe easier than having to reread and redo an article. Okay? Videos are kind of my favorite, just because I like video. But two, you can take videos and get them transcribed and pull all that text out of it. Having to read 10 pages to figure out what's the one sentence that changed, you probably could just rattle it off and have it transcribed quicker than having to figure it out. So it depends on the content, and you don't want to take something from LinkedIn that's specific to LinkedIn that's not going to translate well for a book. I see a lot of people just do a straight 1-to-1 ratio. You have to massage it. You have to make it readable, if you will. but that doesn't mean it's still not going to give you a giant jump start, and it doesn't mean it's going to kick your brain into overdrive, because sometimes people are, let me rephrase that, all the time people are excited to get started, but since they don't know what they're doing, we're guiding them through the process, but the first few days to the first week, it's not like you instantly become a publishing expert just because you decided to. That's what we're here for. But what happens is I start going, okay, we need this. Tell me some thoughts here. We go through this. And then they're like, okay. And I notice there's always a point where they're like here and they're moving forward, and then it just skyrockets and their brain goes into overdrive going, I was looking through this and then this thing connected here, and it starts catching on. All the stuff they've already done is still completely relevant. So I just work them through the process of creating that structure and then diving deeper and deeper and deeper. And when we get to about 100 to 120 pages worth, maybe 130 or 40, I generally tell people don't go over 150. Statistically, if your book is 175 to 180 or longer, there's a giant drop off of people that are actually going to consume it and finish it. And like I said, the best thing you can do is have someone say, I went through it and I implemented it. So you don't want it on the longer side. You actually want it on the shorter side. But you want the core of what's going to get them the best results. So there's some structured, again, business book publishing I have with marketing and strategies I've implemented over the last decade that are specific to business. You can pretty much forget them if you're writing any other type of book. But what we do with our process, the Expert Authority Effect Publishing method, it works very, very, very well for business books. And the cool thing is you already have the knowledge you need. So it's just a matter of going through it, literally.
Yeah, I think you brought up a really good point, which is that more is not always better with books. I mean, I've done that. I'm like, oh, that's 400 pages. I don't have time for that. Like, right? We're all busy people, especially when you're looking at a business owner who probably has a lot on their plate. And one thing you could do, if it's like that much content, break it down into more than one book. Maybe that is 2 or 3 books if you have that much. And it's the same thing with courses. I've had signed up for courses and they're like, I think they think they're providing more service for me by having more content. I'm like, no, I need concise. I need to like boil down. What are the really important things? And if you give me 5 hours of content a week, I'm just like, I just don't have the time. So just give me like one to 1.5 hours and that's going to be perfect. And I feel like
it's interesting you say that because
really just
I was actually going to make a joke that I've seen some courses where they're like, buy today, get the low price of whatever, 232 hours of modules. And I'm like, I don't really care what the price is. Will this get me here? But you're saying 5 hours is too much. That's awesome because that's the truth.
Again, that depends. Yeah, that depends on what the course is, obviously. But there are times when I'm like, there's way more here than I really need to get what I need.
And that's exactly a great point because is what I was talking about with the going through, because some people go, I love repurposing stuff. And I'm very clear with this. I'm all for it. Let's leverage this and have you do the least amount as possible. Are we in agreement? Yes. However, the reality is some things won't translate that well, and it really will take more time to redo it and figure out every little nuance than just starting fresh, but use that as motivation and as a seed to go, hey, here's what I was talking about. Oh, I remember doing that. Yeah, here's the main points. Great. Maybe you made it 10 pages long because it was LinkedIn and you're going for some long tail keywords, whatever. But now you don't need to because it's a book and the reader just needs the 5 bullet points with a little excerpt underneath. And it's great that people want to add the value, but when you make it so cumbersome to that point of the 200 course class, now you have to sift through all that. I don't want to downplay it. You have to sift through all that data to figure out what are the 10 modules that are relevant to me right now. And it's no different than with a book. You don't want 58 chapters when you only need 6 or 7 to get your reader to the result they want. Again, especially for business book, it's like, if you're going, how do I do a podcast? Well, you need a mic, you need, I would say lights, but you need a mic, you need some guests, you need this, or you need to have at least the first 20 to 30 episodes of, if it's topic-based, what you're going to be talking about. You don't need to give in all the rest. You don't need to give everything we've learned at different events. They'll get that 6 months from now. If they're looking to launch, here's what you need to launch. I never said it's a 10-year curriculum, but if you're asking how do I launch, here's what you need. Same thing with the book. How do I do a book? Well, start here. Figure out who's your ideal reader, what's the result you're going to give them, and what's the fastest way you can make it for them. Again, if you can do it in 7 to 10 chapters, don't write 15 or 20.
Yeah, I just feel like that less is more in so many cases, especially when you're dealing with business, and especially when you're dealing with today when people have so many demands on their time. So I think this is really important. And like as we already discussed, the length of the book is significant a factor, sometimes for the purchasing decision, or whether someone just looks at it and is overwhelmed. And like my recent book is about 150 pages of content, and then I have a lot of resources at the end, but those aren't like something that people are going to read from front to back. It's like you can flip through and do you need this template or do you need this whatever, and then it's there. But and those kinds of things I think are really helpful, and that you don't have to have it in the body of the book. Do you work with people like that where they have some kind of like tools, templates, or things they're adding kind of value adds to the book, or do you
Yeah,
recommend to
and
have
that's a
it
great
not in
way
the
to
book
do it
itself but
too,
offline?
because
Mm-hmm.
when you have it as a go check out the website, yourbookname.com/bonuses or whatever, or resources is another common one. It's great because now you can put interactive PDFs. You can put interactive videos, because there's no way, as much as I love video, there is no way you're putting a video in the book. Best case scenario, it's a still
Yeah.
frame of it. So videos automatically are offline. What this allows you to do is say, hey, here's the, and I'm not going to name the year, but whatever year it is when you're listening to this, here's the such and such year guide to publishing. Here's the such and such year guide to podcasting. Here's the such and such year guide to media appearances. Well, now you can keep that updated without having to redo the whole book. Because most of the stuff that people are experts in, it's not changing that much. If we're talking about painting hasn't changed over the years. The styles, the techniques, painting is painting. But using a Wacom tablet versus using oil versus using, what's the one you use as a kid, water-based, you know what I mean? The methods might be different. And someone might say, oh, that is the style and it has changed. Okay, because now we have technology. But the core principles of anything you're teaching, if you're taking the time to share your expertise on something, it's probably been around at least a few decades, if not hundreds of years. If you're talking even about websites, the core of web design is the same. Now there's 500,000 million more sites than there are 10 years ago that you can apply it to, but the core essence, and it's why I'm stressing it, is because so many people worry about every last little detail, and it's like, put that in a bonus video. Put it in a bonus checklist or a bonus resource or something. Hey, here's all the extra questions you probably were thinking, and here's why I didn't put them in the book, because I didn't want to write a dictionary for you. Here's the core of what you need, and the rest, that's the ongoing, the continued learning.
And can you talk about the sort of launch prep and how you help your authors with launching specifically, and what are important factors to consider for launch?
There's one. You talk about it right now today. If someone goes right now today, I want to launch a book in a month from now, 2 months from now, 3 months from now, 6 months from now, great, start talking about it today. I have changed my stance on this, and I've changed my program on it. And day one, week one, that's the first assignment. I'm glad you asked that, because you talk about it now. You have a way for someone to get on your email list and give them value, and you have a way to pay. So I guess that's 3 things. You talk about it now, you announce it now, you have a way for someone to join your list in your community, and that's good for them because they get added bonuses. You can even release chapters as you're writing them. That's a fun thing to do. And it's good for you as the business owner, because now you're building your list for a few reasons. One, it is leads. I don't want to say potentially or downplay it. It's business, it's prospects and leads. Fair enough? 2,
Sure.
you're building a launch list. When you go to launch it, you have more people than you did than saying, the biggest problem most people make is They go, I'm going to write a book. I'm not going to tell anyone because it's got to be perfect. And then maybe if I have a coach or someone that's encouraging me or forcing me, I will announce it 2 to 3 days before it goes live. It's too late at that point. So I always had it at least 30 days out from the launch date, but I moved it to day 1, week 1, because you can't get time back. You can always speed up the other processes, but you can't ever get time back. And the third thing is, those people that are with your book launch, they will be your customers. There's a portion of them that they might not even need the book done. They might just see what you're doing and enjoying the process, and they'll go, wow, you know what? I want to hire them right now. I had no idea they were doing this. It's just fun. It's a giant fun marketing bubble. You know, you don't wait till it's out and then you say, I have a book. You say, I'm doing it, and you aim 2 to 3 months down the road, and depending on where you're at, because some people come to us and they already have something written, and they just need the marketing and the publishing and the launching, and there's a whole lot of media and other stuff after the fact that if you already have a book done right now, cool. But if you don't and you need to write it, we've been talking a little bit about the writing side, but there's a lot of people who already have that, and they're 10 times better at writing than I am. But they don't know anything about the publishing, the launching, the marketing, and then the ongoing evergreen promotion, and there's way more of that. But no matter what, you want to be leading 2 to 3 months down the line and building people up on that list so you can help them and interact. And you know what? There's times where, hey, I'm working on the cover now. What do you think? They're going to be your best sounding board so you get the highest quality book and you're not banging your head against the wall for 15 months going, should I put the blue cover or the red cover? Like, who cares? No one, get it out in front of thousands of people. Like, no one cares about the cover that much, but probably the blue one.
Yeah, I think that in a lot of stuff that people are creating themselves, they don't understand that marketing piece. I'm really glad you brought that up in terms of marketing it way before it's out. Like, most people are like, oh, I write the book and then I market it. And it's like, wow, that's so late. Like, you don't want to do that. And one industry that I think gets that really well is the film industry. You know, you have a movie, it may not even be being shot yet, and they still have all the post-production, all the editing, and they have the trailer, they're promoting that a year before, or in some cases even more than the app before the movie comes out. So this is really good because you're preparing your audience for it, you're getting them excited, getting them really familiar with it, so that by the time it comes out, they're like, yeah, I already know what this is, I want it, I'm excited about it. So yeah, that's big. Don't wait for whether that's a course, whether that's, you know, a book, whatever that is, like, start promoting it as soon as possible, basically, even if it's not done.
100%.
I've started selling things. I've completely sold things before it's even started.
The marketing
so yeah, that's a great kind of marketing tool.
At least 50 to 80% of it. Most people get caught up on the writing. Don't do a bad job. Have multiple editors go through it. Make it the best it can be, but don't take 2 years doing it. 50 to 80% is going to be the marketing. And let's say I could wave a magic wand and go, boom, you got the perfect cover. There's nothing wrong with the spelling. There's nothing wrong with the editing. Your expertise shines like a pearl. Now what? You still need to launch it. You still need to publish it. And guess what? The book's going to be around. At least I teach everything that I want to know will last for at least a decade. This isn't, you're putting a lot of time, energy, and money into it. This isn't something that's a 3-month project or a 6-month project. It's like, I want 10 years of leverage out of this. And truthfully, it'll go longer than that because people still sell books after decades and decades later. Maybe it's, you know, you give it to your kids or your grandkids. You read it, but, you know, will they still get something out of it? If you do it right, the answer is yes. So it's ongoing. But the reality is the marketing and the sales never stop. Now, there's certain things you want to do in the launch sequence when you go to publish it, and the launching is different than publishing it. I downplay publishing all the time because literally you can upload the file, hit there, and then some people think the publishing is when you have a printed physical copy. That's the printing. Publishing is not really that difficult nowadays. But the launch sequence to get the momentum to build all this up, again, especially for business, it's really true for any book, but if you're not marketing and promoting it, it's why I've had people on my show, they're like, you do book publishing? I go, yeah. I go, why? And they're on my show because they're launching something and they qualify. And they've talked to me off screen and they're like, I need some help with marketing it and selling it. I go, weren't you just talking about you had a book coach? They're like, yeah, they kind of just helped me with the cover though. I'm like,
Yeah,
I have to
it's
bite
a
my
it's
tongue
a huge
because it's
issue.
like, you're going to go to a driving school who like teaches you how to wash the car but not drive it, or turn it on but never learn the turn signals or what any other street signs say, or how to stop or how to get out of a ticket or whatever the case may be. It's like there's a whole lot they left out. They're like, in one of them, we were doing the pre-chat, getting ready for everything, and he was more excited about launching his book than the interview. He's like, "Can we start the interview so we can finish it? Because I want to talk to you after." He was like, he was so energized about doing his book with me that he didn't really want to go with the interview. He wanted to talk for another hour. I go, "Let's get this out of the way. We can talk tomorrow." He's like, "That'd be perfect." He got started 2 days later.
That's great. Yeah, it is exciting. And also, I completely agree that it's just not enough focus on that from a lot of people that are even in the industry. And, people teach the part that they know. So maybe they just, that's
Correct.
not something that they're that familiar with how to do. But the launch is super important in terms of getting it out there. It's kind of like, you could have the best thing in the world. If people don't know about it, are you going to sell it? Are people going to be able to access it? No, like it's just as important. And I agree with you. Like, so much more of the focus needs to be on the marketing and the launch and everything. And a lot of times people are just, they think, like, an author thinks like, I just have to write this book and then I'm good. And it's like, oh no, you're just kind of
Mm-mm.
starting at that point.
No, and I had my background's in marketing and sales. So prior to even considering the book, again, I failed English 7 times. It wasn't like, oh, I'm just going to add this to my repertoire. I love writing. But I always knew how to help people, and I always knew how to get clients, and I always knew how to help them get clients. So when I started doing the publishing myself, I was like, I saw what everyone else was doing. I go, well, that's all well and good, but we're lacking this 60, 70%. I go, nothing's stopping me though. So some of the principles for my book launch I actually applied to my podcast launch. And, the marketing can be tooled universally, but when you do it specific for book launches, I'll tell you, it works. It's worked many, many times, and it continues to work. And that's also why I'm so excited about it, because it's like, yeah, you need the writing, but literally, like I proposed, well, whatever it was, 8 minutes ago, if I had a magic wand and your book's already done and you have the perfect cover and all this stuff, now what? What's your plan to get it out there? And not just get it out there, because get it out there is maybe a 24-hour to 1 week time frame to actually launch it, because maybe you go into a launch month. Okay, you don't need to do it proper, but actually it wouldn't work that well proper. It would be, you'd be on ongoing. Anything more than a week, it's going to get diluted just because of the way things work. But now you're on you'd be in month 1 of the ongoing evergreenness of it, if you will. But that's like forever. You can at any point in time pick up your book. My favorite thing to do is order more copies or retool it, or add something to it for a second edition, and then take a screenshot, put it out there, and everyone's like, oh my gosh, congrats. It's like, I've had the book for 5 years. Like, you don't remember this before? But the thing is that you can always promote it. You can always grab a chapter
Right.
from it. One of the things I encourage people to do before launch week, I've always generally taught 7 chapters, because if you have 5, if you have 3 to 5, 3 isn't really a book. It's like a pamphlet. Okay? If you have 3 to 5, it's not that hard to go to 7. And if you're at 10 or 12, it's not that hard to double up and go down. 7 works its way. 7 works really well because it's enough that people are like, wow, this is good, but it's not so much they feel overwhelmed, number 1. 2, for promotional purposes, talk about 1 chapter every day of the week prior to launch. And then at the end say, I'm launching on XYZ day at this time, grab your copy here. It goes into the marketing, and then you can just keep cycling through that for the evergreenness. I don't know if that's a word. I think I just created it here, but whatever. Those, it doesn't throw off the marketing schedule. if you have 21 days, if you have 21 chapters, what do? There's generally 30 days in a month, and you can't do a 2-week cycle. But you could even take the 7 and if there's usually 2 to 3 points in that chapter, and you could cycle through it, and it's always something new because you have a whole book of content, literally. You can just grab something at any point in time and be like, I'm going to make a post on it and promote it, and then link back to the sales funnel, which is an important part, because if you don't have a call to action, how are you going to get them on your list? And it's not just about getting them on your list. It's about once they're on, you can actually serve them at a higher degree because they raised their hand and said, I want what you're offering. It's not about just getting names and numbers. It's about going, who are the people I can help further? But the cool thing is with the book, there's like 191 different ways you can do it between the chapters and little snippets. You don't need to promote the whole thing as a whole. Take out page 67. Take out page 32. Hey, I was reading my own book. Take a picture of it. Did you see what's in chapter 4? And everyone's like, what's in chapter 4?
Right. No, great. Some great tips. Well, Mario, this has been so fun. I love learning more about, this element of what you do, because it's so interesting when you meet people and you learn them from that context. So we were at a podcasting conference. We were both speaking at this podcasting conference and attending that. So, we were talking more about podcasting and speaking and that sort of thing. So it's fun to learn about this element. And I completely agree that this is great. If you're a podcaster, whatever business you're in, having a book really helps with all these other things, building credibility, visibility, getting yourself out there. So if people want to learn more, connect with you, and specifically learn about the service, what's the best way for them to do that?
I actually made a resource free available to anyone. If you go to eainterviews.com/free gift, I want to give it to your audience. I have a whole free podcasting. I have a whole free business book publishing course.
Yes, like we're talking about, we're used to talking about podcasting together.
What's that?
Perfect. I said we're used to talking about podcasting together.
We are, and yeah, so that's good. But podcasting is a great way to promote books, and if someone doesn't have a podcast, it's a great way to, again, it's just another medium. We both got great shows. It's another medium to get out there, because there's people that'll listen to the podcast and they'll find your books through it, and there's people that'll read your book and find the podcast. So this is where the synergy starts creating. I would say you don't want to be launching both at once. You can do them closely, but no matter what it is, it's great you have that ambition, but I've heard people be like, oh, I'm launching a new book, a new training, a new business, a new podcast, a new thing, and I'm doing XYZ. It's like all the same month. How can you even effectively promote that? Because that's at the very least 6 calls to action. Just have one. So eainterviews.com/free gift for free business publishing course.
Amazing. I love that. Yeah, you can do multiple things, but I agree. Don't try to do it all at once. Spread it out. It's a lot more impactful. Well, thank you so much, Mario, for talking with us. It's really been a pleasure.
The pleasure is mine. Thank you so much, Laura.
And thank you, everybody, for listening. If you'd like more information about me, you can go to my website, powershour.biz. You can find me at Twitter at @LauraPowers, Instagram at LauraPowers44, and on Facebook. Thanks for listening.